You're listening to the Batuta Advocates Weekly News Wrap on Desert Rock FM 96.5. Well, welcome back to Baxter Bird Studios in downtown Batuta. We've got a special guest today. He's one of Queensland's favourite sons. He's a media identity. He's just coming back from the deep north where he's been visiting his folks before he starts a new gig next week. The Cairns Taipan Peter Stefanovic. Thanks for joining us.
Great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for coming up.
The Cairns Taipan. You know, we used to go and watch the Cairns Taipans play the basketball team
Cairns
regularly.
Taipans.
Yeah. They had a basketball team up there. The Townsville Crocs. Even the soccer team up there was the Cairns Taipans.
Taipans.
Never saw a Taipan though, a real Taipan.
Yeah. No, I think there's two types of taipan, aren't they? Because there's a coastal one that's up there in the Gulf, and then there's the inland taipan, the fear snake, which is, I think, the world's third deadliest
After
snake.
the Eastern Brown?
I think it might be before the Eastern Brown. I don't know.
I mean, it's just...
You'll have to fact check me on that.
Well, it's just great up there. I mean, we've got all the killers. We've got the Crocs up there. You've got the Eastern Browns up there. The cassowaries up there.
Got the catters.
Yeah. All the catters.
Yeah.
Now, how are things up north this time of the year?
Lovely. It's great to be there now. I always struggled there in the summertime because it's 400 degrees and
Singaporean.
Back in school we didn't have air conditioning in those days, so you had the thick layer of sweat that's stuck between your school shirt and the seat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was beautiful. There wasn't much learning going on then, but so right now it's what, 22, 23 degrees. Yeah, beautiful. So I spent a bit of time down Yorkeys Knob where my mum lives and had a good relax for about 3 days before I got bored.
Is there a bit of a homecoming for you up
I
there?
didn't get bored for the people listening up there. Not really. Well, yeah, it is actually, because I get to see my mum and all my family, my cousins and aunties and uncles, and so that's nice.
Bit like Wayne Gardner, rocking up at Wollongong. Is it that kind of reception when the Stefanovic boys come home?
No, not like an open bus parade through the main streets of Cairns. No, I didn't quite have that. No, I kind of kept it low key. I just I like hanging around Yorkies because there's a yacht club there and little golf club and everything that's needed. Port Douglas, good to go up there for lunch.
Yeah, a few great Northerns.
Yeah.
I love a great Northern. The beer from up here.
Yeah.
How good is it?
The greatest gift that Christopher Skase ever gave this country was Port Douglas. And all that the Commonwealth did was try to take him down for it.
And the people who hack on Port Douglas haven't been there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What a great joint.
Don't knock it till you try it.
That's right.
Yeah, it's the best palm trees in Australia.
I love a palm tree too. You just get me going on palm trees. It's one of those things.
Yeah. Were you, your family are North Queenslanders, or was that just like where you guys were born?
Yeah, we just kind of drifted there. So my mum's parents kind of drifted there. They lived at Whale Beach. Funnily enough, they had a house there on Whale Beach, one of the biggest there, and they sold it in the 60s for about 50 grand.
Yeah.
It's still there.
Just missed the boat. Yeah.
I think it's worth about 8 million now. But so my grandfather was a captain of ships and used to sail them through the Torres Strait and whatnot. So they all kind of gravitated up there and had their kids, and we all just kind of ended up there as well. It was a great joint to have an upbringing, really. Yeah, it's so free. We had such a free childhood. It was awesome.
Barefoot at school?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah, loved it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd get the bindies out. You'd get immune to bindies after a while.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't even feel them.
Thick,
become so hard.
Well-leathered heels. Now, there's a big Slavic community in North Queensland. Were you kind of part of that post-war wave, or was that a separate...
I was more with the Italians.
Yeah.
I used to hang out with them a little bit more. I used to get teased a lot when I was playing for the local Italian football teams. They used to call me the bomb chucker. Just trading on my Slavic roots, you know. Yeah. The
Thank
Bosnian
Die Hard
War was
for that.
was just going off at about that time. Yeah, the early 90s and whatnot. But yeah, I used to love hanging out with the Italians. I still do. I still kind of feel like I'm a bit of an honorary Italian because of, why wouldn't you be?
Yeah, it'd be a little bit weird if you weren't comfortable.
No, that's right. Yeah, I mean, they got the food, they got drinks and the football. I love it.
So what was the migration path? Was that not your old man, grandfather?
Yeah, so are we going back? My grandfather on my dad's side, he's Serbian. He came from Belgrade, born in Belgrade. And then he left Belgrade to have my dad with Dad's mum, obviously in Germany. So he was born in Germany. So I've got quite a European mix in there, and then they sail on a boat out here in the late 40s, early 50s. They came out here, and that's his side, and then Mum's side came from up north.
And where did the journalism come from with you guys?
Dad used to do a radio show in Cairns. He was a financial planner, and he used to sort of crunch the numbers on air, and he was quite a charismatic guy, you know, still is.
Barefoot.
The investor. Yeah. So he
North Queenslander. The barefoot North Queenslander.
I think that's where
the barefoot Taipan.
I think that's where Carl originally got the bug through Dad.
Bit more of an anchor man, bit more of a bit more of a host. Oh, you've done your time on air, like on the desk as well.
A little bit, yeah. But so I think Carl got the bug there, and then I didn't really know what to do. I wanted to be a jockey. Was the first profession I wanted to be. But then I got over 4.5 feet, and then I thought, what else am I good at? And Carl just goes, why don't you come to work with me for a day?
Yeah.
See if you like it or not. Because at that point he was working at Win TV in Cairns.
Yeah, right.
And I went there and I thought it was great, so I stuck with it. And English was the only subject I was good at school, other than sport.
And then later on, you brought Tom.
Tommy, yeah, my little brother Tommy. He was in a little bit of the same boat. But he was more behind the camera. Yeah, more behind the camera. And he's left now, though. He's growing almonds. Almond farmer down in Griffith. Yeah, he's doing a great job there.
In Griffith?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a good joint, Griffith.
Milk and almonds, yeah.
That's right, yeah.
The Italians?
Again, the Italians. Yeah, so I'm just sort of, I gravitate towards them.
So you had one in the field. You had one on screen, and you had one behind the camera.
Yeah.
Was that kind of, you had the triple threat? You went to Channel 9 with that and said you get all three for one?
Also there's my sister, who at the time was cutting hair and doing makeup and wigs for stage shows and whatnot. So we could have gone with the four of us. Here we are. Take us as a pack.
Well, as we've reported on this before, the modern day dados.
Yeah. So and I ended up in Sydney a long time after that, but that's how it all started.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about getting the foreign correspondent work?
Yeah.
How'd you roll into that?
So I'd done a bit of time at Win TV in Rockhampton for about 18 months, and then I went to Win TV in Canberra for about 18 months, and then I drifted over to Sydney and worked as a producer there for a little while and started doing some work for a current affair, and I got into touch with Rob Penfold, the elegant veteran himself, and I said, what do I have to do to get to become a correspondent? Because that sounds like a great job, you know, traveling the world and seeing all the great stories and seeing all this history unfold. And he basically said, just sit tight, just work hard and wait for something to pop up. And I think probably within about a year, a vacancy popped up. So I just went for it with great gusto and enthusiasm and
ran the ball up.
Yeah, and sure enough, that was about 26 years old at the time, so I was pretty young for a correspondent at that point, and I was by myself, but just loved it. It was the start of a really great time in my life.
So where was your first overseas posting?
It was LA. Yeah. So we're based out of LA, and
on your own.
I was there by myself. Yeah, but you make friends quickly. You know, it's not that hard, especially there when you're Australian. There's a couple of friends I knew who knew there already anyway, so we ended up renting out this big party house in the Hollywood Hills.
Yeah. Sounds like you're underplaying it a bit, but
they
were all there for pilot season.
Unfortunately, I had to go and work all the time, so I was never there.
And what year would have that been?
So that was 2008.
Okay.
That's when I started, right at the start, just after Heath Ledger passed away, actually.
All right.
So
just as the recession started.
Yep.
Yeah, Barack Obama, the Hurricane Obama, he started sweeping through at about that point. And
Arnie. Was Arnie in?
Yeah, he was the governor.
Yeah.
He was the governor, yeah. So
The Governator.
The Governator.
I believe his title wasn't it?
Yeah, gee, I used to go to a couple of things, conferences where he was there, though. He's a charismatic guy, Arnie is. Yeah. And then, I mean, it was a big political year, that one, yeah. I mean, no one really expected it to end up the way it did, with Barack Obama knocking off Hillary Clinton and getting, first of all, that Democratic nomination, and then going on to win the big game itself.
Big dance, yeah.
Can we just ask, I mean, as someone who's on the ground there, every single election we've seen in the last 3 or so years, now with the 24-hour news cycle, it's a lot more hysterical when we talk about predictions, and then, of course, the polls are wrong and it's a different result. ScoMo was an example of that. He painted it blue. Trump painted it red, Brexit, all that kind of stuff. Was that happening, boots on the ground in America? Did Obama come as a similar shock?
Well, not as much. Not as much, no. I think the polls were a bit more accurate back then. Someone from the Democrats were going to win that election because on the other side, you were coming out of George W. Bush, who, the Republicans were very unpopular at that point.
Yeah.
It would have taken a miracle for John McCain to have won that. And I think he would have been a good president, but it wasn't to be. I mean, Sarah Palin came in and sort of lit the joint up a little bit, so that was a pretty good sideshow.
Yeah.
But it was, and that was, in many ways, that was the best part, was the Obama versus Clinton race for the Democratic nomination. He was just so good at speaking publicly. He had the silver tongue, and he was just so smooth, and
he could
everybody.
He could code between communities as well. You get a different Obama depending what crowd he was in front of.
Yeah, and everyone just got caught up in it, and it was just great to see. And I used to go to a couple of his stump speeches, and everyone just loved him.
And I guess he wasn't a Bush or a Clinton,
That's right. Yeah.
It wasn't a dynasty.
There was no dynasty.
An alternative vote.
Yeah, and you remember, I think this was after he won the Democratic nomination, so he was heading towards the general election. And they ended up doing this world tour. And one of the speeches he gave in Germany, when there was hundreds of thousands of people who were there to see him, and it's like, this guy's got it in the bag.
Yeah.
He's already presidential.
Yeah.
He released that book as well at the same time.
Yeah, he's done a couple. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
nailed the family tree.
Yeah,
but would you call him a populist in hindsight? Trump is a populist. We've got populist politicians here, or do you reckon he was just a showman?
He had a bit of everything.
Yeah,
I think when you look back on his presidency, though, depending on who you ask, was it successful?
Yeah.
Most people do think it was a success, but I think his foreign policy was no good. Yeah. I think he didn't do a very good job there at all. It's sort of underscored by the whole red line and Syria business, which I'm sure he would think that was a mistake. But he had change. His whole campaign was about hope and change, and everyone ate it up.
Yeah.
And it was really great to see, in the sense of a spectacle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He ran an opposition campaign.
Yeah.
That's what Shorten didn't do this year.
And it's interesting, though, because I went last year, or the year that, years are getting ahead of me now, when Donald Trump won it, I went to see a couple of his speeches. It was so much the opposite of what Obama was doing, but just as entertaining.
Yeah.
And it was just impossible. You just look at him thinking, I think he's going to win it.
Yeah, well, on that, on election night, he was like, a vote for me means all your dreams will come true. And there's people going, woo!
Yeah.
Like impossible promises.
Yeah. But it was crazy. Like, his supporters were so crazy when you'd go and watch some of his speeches, and at that point he was turning the media against everybody, and it was almost kind of scary in a way too, because people would come up right up to your face and start pointing at you and calling you the fake media and all that kind of business. Where are you from? Australia. Where's that? Somewhere not here. Yeah, but they'd get so cranky, and he was successful in driving a wedge between the media and himself and his supporters, that's for sure.
Now, where was your first kind of war zone? America wasn't exactly that. I mean, it would have been interesting, but you've done the hiding behind car doors thing.
Yeah, that was
live to camera.
Yeah, that was in Ukraine, that one. First one would have been, I think, probably the Arab Spring. And that was civil war back then, so that was 2011. Egypt wasn't necessarily a war zone, but it was hot.
Yeah.
There was a whole lot going on with Hosni Mubarak, who'd been the dictator there for 30-odd years, and all of a sudden people thought that there was this wave of change coming across, and they could be a democracy as well. They'd seen it happen in Tunisia, and that dictator left within about 17 or 18 days. So it was a quick turnaround.
Because that's where it started in Tunisia, moved to Libya.
Yeah, it was a young fruit
Egypt,
seller who was tired of being pushed around by the government, and he lit himself on fire in front of the government. Yeah, and so that's
what kicked it off.
That's what kicked it off. That's what kicked off the Arab Spring, and so this wave of hope kind of engulfed the Middle East. So it went from Tunisia to Egypt to Libya, and then to Yemen, to Syria, in Bahrain as well. Some other fires were put out pretty quickly by certain regimes, but Egypt, I mean, they were successful in the end.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember it was, and that wasn't a hesitant, reluctant thing that just was following trend. I remember being in a taxi when there was a guy with the Egyptian boxing gloves on the rear view mirror. I said, geez, wouldn't want to be there right now.
Yeah.
And he goes, I would love to be there.
And it was great. As a journalist, it was great to be there too. I remember it's the first time I was struck by a missile. We were in Tahrir Square, and the rival sets of supporters were really starting to go at each other. So you had the pro-regime supporters, who many of whom could have been paid by the government to be there, and you had the sort of the pro-democracy supporters, the young kids who kind of wanted more of a Western culture in Cairo. And all of a sudden, it just kicked off, and rocks were being thrown. People were ripping up the pavement and throwing bits of cement and concrete towards the other side. And I got nailed on the shoulder at one point by this rock that went flying through the air. And so me and my cameraman Jimmy, we sort of skedaddled pretty quickly. But I don't know if you remember, at that point, that some of the Egyptians were wearing like bread rolls that were taped to their heads and used as helmets to protect them against these rocks that were flying through the air.
Bread rolls.
Yeah, they had these bread rolls taped to their heads. It was like ingenious.
So how do these things work as a journalist from a major TV network? Do you go to like the director of news at night and say, I'd like to go to Egypt, and then he'd go,
it was usually a pretty easy decision.
Yeah.
Because I'd be based in London, and then you'd see something kick off, and it was like, we got to go to this.
Yeah.
But I'd always call the boss and say,
yeah,
mate, what do you think about this? And he's like, yep, sounds good. So then you just jump on a flight and go.
But you usually beat them to that? Like, they're not following
usually,
all this shit.
yeah.
They're not going, get on a plane, we need you.
No, usually. There was only one time when I was woken up, was when the Costa Concordia sunk off Italy.
Yeah.
It was about 3 or 4 in the morning, and I got a call from the foreign editor at the time, who said, there's a flight that's booked in 3 hours from Heathrow. You got to get on it. What's happening? A ship has run aground just off the coast of Italy, and there could be Australians on board, so we want you to go and check it out.
See, that was kind of masked in like, I guess it became a bit tabloidy over here because, maybe he was rooting someone while it was happening. But a lot of people died on that boat.
I mean, my memory sort of has gone a bit hazy, but I know that I feel like there was more than a dozen people who got trapped underneath. I just have to check that one.
Yeah.
I mean, when was that? 2012?
Yeah.
2013, I think that was. So
Costa Concordia, right? So there was 32 passengers and crew and 1 member of the salvage crew
died. Yeah,
Jesus.
yeah, because they were trapped underneath it. But
Yeah.
I mean, he came in for a lot of stick. Isn't it the captain's responsibility to be the last one left, right?
Yeah.
He got the fucking book thrown at him, didn't he?
But he just jumped off.
Yeah.
This thing's going down. I'm out of here.
There was so much. They reckon, there was the rumor that he was rooting around and, like, that is why the boat crashed. But there was another one that he was showing off to his mates.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, and he'd go past this island and he'd hit the horn. It was almost doing the flyby from Top Gun. Well, he ended up getting himself into a lot of trouble as he deserved to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember. What was his name? I can't remember his name. It doesn't matter.
What were you? So when did you?
Put you on the spot there.
You're in all of these different countries around the world, all for all these historical moments, and probably even before you left, your brother was on Today Show.
Yep. Yeah, he was hosting Today.
He spent a bit of time in that job
As a correspondent?
No.
Or on Today Show?
on Today Show.
Yeah.
as an anchor.
He was there for 14 or 15 years. I think it might even be the second most after Steve Liebman in Australian history for breakfast TV.
What's
I
the
don't know
age
what
difference?
Koshi's done.
What's the age difference between you guys?
7 years.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was trying.
So he was a correspondent.
Yeah.
A lot of people sort of forget that, but he was there for about a year and a half. I think he always wanted to be there for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But the job came up and he had to go. So I think he always looked on at the places where I was with some kind of envy. But
Yeah.
I mean, he's still got out there a fair bit. But yeah, it's always what he wanted to do was be a correspondent.
Yeah, because he came in directly after the big man went.
Reagan.
No,
Oh,
Kerry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we're on some wavelengths there. I think that was I was thinking the big story that he did at that time was Ronald Reagan dying.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, you were saying, I was going, how old's your brother?
Yeah, Kerry died, I want to say, in 2005.
Yeah, that's what I reckon.
Yeah, I think he was in 2005. And I'm not sure
That
what
was
they
probably
had
the
to do
best
with each
time.
other. Yeah.
Didn't have to worry about the internet,
Yeah.
I don't think he would have managed the internet too well, Kerry.
social media.
You're like, no, it's a fad, you stupid bastard.
I think, you know what? I actually just read a book about Kerry, and I think he was very skeptical of the internet.
Yeah.
He wasn't sure whether it was going to take off
Yeah.
or
It
not.
was a phase.
So-
Yeah, it was a phase.
Whereas your new boss, Rupert, actually was on it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He was on Twitter at like 80.
Yeah, well,
four.
I think James Packer was actually quick to sort of get behind businesses that had a strong internet influence.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rupert would have been, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
he bought MySpace for $300 million.
Yeah. What's the story behind that? Wasn't that a bit of a flop?
Yeah,
Remember,
right.
I had a MySpace
So,
account.
I think
Play your own songs.
so.
I think I had a Stroke song as my as my song that when
Bit of
people
TI.
went onto my page. Yeah, you only live once, YOLO. But yeah,
I
didn't
think,
say he bought it off Justin Timberlake or something like that.
Because
Right?
I'd urge our listeners to do their own research, but I'd
Yeah.
say a consortium of investors bought it off Tom,
that guy.
the OG guy,
Yeah, yeah.
who I think that consortium was led by probably Justin Timberlake, and then he on-sold that to News Corp for $300 million, and Tom got about that too.
Yeah, Tom's
And
laughing.
He hasn't been heard of since.
No, well, why
he's
we?
done the perfect thing. He's like, fuck this.
No one knows his last
yeah.
name.
It's just
Anderson.
Tom. He probably bought Barbados and just lives there now.
Yeah, and then Rupert just got in the cockpit and flew that thing into a mountain.
Yeah. But, you know,
But where is MySpace these days?
I think, you know
It's
what I
still
think?
going.
Is it?
I think there's 64,000 people in Australia who use it every day still.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if my page is still there.
Go check that.
Okay. Well, I'll see.
I can't remember what my title was,
Yeah.
but that was
Big
when
Petey.
Facebook came.
Pedro.
Big Pedro.
Vote for Pedro. That was
think-
about that era.
I remember a mate of mine said at the time when we were on MySpace, he goes, let's have a look at this Facebook thing. Should we give it a go? Let's get on this Facebook thing. That was about 2007.
And Facebook felt like LinkedIn the first time. You
Yeah,
were on.
right.
What's
it was
this?
pretty basic.
Pretty sterile
Yeah.
shit. Where's all the colours? Where's all the photos of Tupac and shit?
And then there we go.
I think MySpace actually did all right because every band had a MySpace page, uploaded their music,
Yeah.
and there was a lot of, I guess...
I think the first big band to come out of that era was the Arctic Monkeys.
And Lily Allen too.
Yeah,
she
yeah.
ended up making a career out
But
of
they,
all of that. Yeah.
they got to wheel on the rights of the music that was put up if it was like an unsigned band.
Yes.
So there was kind of, I think they might have done, something, Pandora might have come out of that.
Yep.
You know?
And what was the other one? The Napster. That was before it though, wasn't it? Yeah.
That was a bit before.
That's why, and that Napster is the reason why people don't pay for newspapers. You know, the millennials anymore. They just can't understand
then,
paying $2 for a newspaper. It's like, I never paid for an Eminem album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never paid for news.
Yeah.
It's on the
I think
internet.
it's starting to turn though, don't you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah.
Now, which is a good
Post Trump,
I think,
people rushed for like a
Yeah.
proper subscription.
Yeah.
I think it's particularly in the States.
I think if you want quality journalism, then you have to pay for it. Where if you want sort of news that's come either from us or from news
The Daily
or
Mail you're talking
or
about.
yeah, it's. I don't think you should have to pay for news that's of our quality.
Or you want
I think you
to
should pay for your quality. It's fantastic.
subscription? Yeah,
Well, you can buy a hat then.
buy some beer. No,
It's a beer wall.
the free websites are the ones with like crosshairs as the logos.
Right,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? The real stuff. You know, the ones that are talking about like Hillary, you know, as actually dying in that 2016. You know, they said
Yeah.
she was dying and they weren't telling anyone.
Yeah, and it's like, look at her glasses. They're tinted blue because she's got epilepsy. So the cameras don't set her off.
I remember when you guys wrote an article a long time ago about me and my brother having a big Christmas.
Yeah.
You remember that
we
one?
did. We did do that one. We had some
was-
sources in the extended family.
That was
a
when
long
we
time
first
ago.
became aware of the Batuta Advocate.
Yeah.
Well,
And I was like,
think
what is this? We've been on a bender at Mum's place.
the first people that we ever interviewed on camera was Carl and Barry Cassidy.
Yeah.
When we were just like, well, how about we go down to Canberra
It was
for the lib spill?
The lip spill Abbott survived.
And then we just asked Carl, and he was like, get ready, I'll be over in 15 minutes.
Yeah, he's in a live cross. Yeah.
And then at the end it goes, and we're out. And then he just goes,
I'm done.
Took the mic off
Walks
and ran
off.
off.
Yes. Gentlemen.
It's been a pleasure.
Well, it's good. And, Queenslanders recognise Queenslanders look
Yeah.
after each other, so it was good. Got us some good, gave us some good sound bites. Now, tell us, you guys didn't grow up with a TV. That's like the circulated kind of urban myth about
yeah.
your family.
No, we had TV there. We only had, well, I can only speak for myself, but when I grew up in Cairns, we only had 2 channels.
Yeah, right.
So there was Channel 10 and ABC. And
The two extremes.
Our friends up the road had our friends up the road had Channel 9 and Channel 7. So it was
Right.
I was like, man, how do you get some of that action? We had to listen to the State of Origin on radio.
Yeah.
Roy and HG, that was fantastic.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it.
Did you ever try and watch the game and listen to Roy and HG so you'd sort of have their audio over the pictures on 9?
Pubs would do it. They'd
Yeah.
turn off the fucking dribble. Yeah. Now, new job. You're on the desk?
Yes, so I'm doing breakfast. I'm going back to breakfast, which is exciting.
You've done
I've done
breakfast,
it.
though.
Yeah, I did the Weekend Today show for a couple of years,
Yeah.
on and off, and
That's tough.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I mean, but the funny thing is, because Sylvia was doing it for about 5 years,
Yeah.
and she was up at about 3:15, and I'd get up at about 5 or 6, and so now it's kind of flipped over. Yeah. So the shoe is on the other foot. But
Yeah.
no, it'll be good. It's sort of back to my roots in news, and we've got 4 hours of me and Laura, and Laura's a fantastic political interviewer. She
Yeah.
does a great job, and so I look forward to working with her and sort of covering just basically hard news every day.
Yeah.
So it's just getting to the political news, the local news, international news, and business, which is, people don't have a great deal of time to get their news in the mornings, you
Yeah.
know. So we just sort of want to.
And they've rolled out Sky too since recently, right? It's on free to air right across regional.
It
Queensland.
was. I don't think that's happening.
Right.
I'm not aware of all of that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. But I think it used to be on Win TV, but
Yeah.
I'm a bit confused with where Win is at now because it used to be with 9 when I was at
Well,
Win, and now it's
yeah.
at 10. And
Well, it was in the news the other day that they're going to...
they cut down the newsrooms. Yeah, that's a shame.
All of their newsrooms. I just,
Yeah.
Ken Sutcliffe's
Like it's
teeing
getting
off
cut
on
in half.
Twitter about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I did win in Rocky and win in Canberra, and that was where I learnt all my mistakes. It was a great
Yeah.
time. And you were right under pressure. You had to write 4 stories a day.
Yeah.
And
You would have loved Beef Week then.
Beef Week, Beef Expo,
Yeah.
and Rocky. Oh yeah, love that stuff.
We were up there
That was
last year.
unreal.
Carrying on.
But even in Canberra, I had a great time in Canberra too.
Yeah.
Just being at ground zero for all the political stuff that's happening in Australia, and I look forward to sinking my teeth into that now too, and using the experience that I gained overseas. Covering everything that I covered.
When you're in Canberra, were you in the press gallery?
No, I was at Win TV, so
Okay.
we sort of did local politics, but
Light rail.
20
years later, it's built.
Yeah, to follow the chief minister around, and it was good fun though. Canberra's a good joint.
So you're heading back to breakfast television.
Yeah, back to breakfast.
Does that mean the paparazzi have got the license to come back into your life now?
I don't know that they're much interested in me anymore.
Yeah.
I hope not. Anyway, I never really got the fascination anyway. But
You got a hard news job
Yeah.
too now, which I guess
Yeah.
doesn't make them
Well,
as horny.
yeah,
Do you think that being on the Today shows kind of gives them the green light?
maybe
You know, to be like,
well, because you're sort of in so many people's lounge rooms.
Yeah.
yeah.
and that's fine. That comes with the territory.
They hammer Sylvia though.
Yeah, they go after Sylvia a fair bit,
Yeah.
and obviously they go after Carl a fair bit. I don't know how he does it, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
Yeah,
He's
I mean,
put up
'cause
with it for a long time.
It was at your wedding, wasn't it? Where
Yeah, that was
a
crazy,
guy
man.
drove into
Yeah,
a
he drove
fucking
into
pond,
a dam.
didn't he?
Yeah, in the next door. Yeah, so I mean, we did our best to keep that all private, but
Yeah.
friggin' chopper up that day, and I was like, "What is this?" You know what I mean?
Who's
It's like-
making that much money off
I don't know.
your wedding photos?
it was So it was the paparazzi had hired that, and we did our best to stop the roads and
A
to get into the property.
God
So
damn
it would be nice for us.
It's like
now.
Waker. Everyone's looking
Well, it was
up.
like it was like we're actors.
Yeah,
yeah.
Something like that. You know, I mean, so we sort of look at each other and go, we're just journos.
Just fucking journos from Queensland.
Just journos from Queensland. We had a good time though. It was an unreal day, but it was just that was a bit much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose you live in Sydney, you live in the eastern suburbs, you're kind of in the hot spot. I mean, even Packer and Gingell couldn't get away from them when they were having their little punch on.
I've always wondered how that happened. You know, that was just a stroke of luck for that photographer.
Yeah.
You know, just being Johnny on the spot there.
And then the extreme News Corp watermark.
That's right. Yeah, well, it's obviously worth some coin. That was.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was funny. We always laughed about that, about how it was just so indicative of the different newspapers around the country. Courier Mail in Brisbane was Packer Wacker, which was a good same photo on every single one. Telegraph was Bondi Biffo.
Wasn't the NT News? As I got to pack her up my clacker. Okay, that's the one.
That was the ideal. I had Herald Sun was Packer Punch. I mean, there's some professionals in that department.
Yeah.
Well, I've heard that a lot of sort of News Corp guys from England, they do their time at the NT News to learn how to write those headlines.
Oh, really?
Because it's like, just go to this newspaper that no one in corporate cares about and just write the most outlandish shit you can.
Yeah.
And then use all of these skills to come back and write about people in the EPL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's a national treasure.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
get any inspiration from their headlines? For your headlines?
Yeah, well, we don't, Batuta doesn't have any saltwater crocs getting around, but they scrape the toast. They just stretch that out so far.
Yeah.
Like a crocodile in a pool is just, I reckon people are popping champagne in the newsroom when they find there's a crocodile in a pool in downtown Darwin.
Oh, man, yeah. It's a great joint, Darwin, too.
It is.
Yeah. You spent much time up there?
A fair bit, actually.
Yeah. It's a bit of a melting pot too, You got all kind of different trades up there.
Yeah.
The intense thing about Darwin is that I think it's something like 70% male, and then the average age is 26, 27, which is intense.
Yeah.
Like for the nightlife, it's a sausage fest, and there's a lot of...
I'm good friends with Matt Wright, the crocodile wrangler himself, and he's the mayor, the unofficial mayor of Darwin.
Yeah, so he's the one that does the show now.
Yeah.
Before
the Outback Wrangler.
Yeah.
Before he kind of had a dabble with media, my mates went on a Bucks party that he hosted out on the hovercraft.
Yes.
And they said it was intense.
Yeah, I've been on one of those, He's crazy, man. He's a good bloke, too. He's and very handsome.
Yeah.
Very handsome guy.
Yeah.
But
well, it helps. It helps on screen.
Yeah.
He was a barefoot bushman, kind of. He was knowledgeable, but he wasn't. He didn't pop on screen.
Yeah.
Just about to jump back into it. Really, when's your next break from here?
Don't know. I look forward to being busy.
Yeah.
I haven't.
Yeah. What was fun? Sorry. What was fun employment like? what was that like?
Just go back
Well,
for a minute.
it's funny because you can. Like, I had never been unemployed before, right?
Yeah.
So I've always been a hard worker. I've been working since I was 12.
Mm-hmm.
So I've never not had a job. So all of a sudden, we parted ways in December, and it was like, well, I might just take it easy for a bit and just. Everyone was telling me just enjoy it because something's going to come up soon, So I have difficulty sitting still though.
Yeah.
So I tried getting out there and playing golf, and I couldn't go traveling too much because it's sort of. You've got a X amount of dollars there that have got to get you through a period.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you need to ration it out, So I was just reading books, and it wasn't long anyway before
Homebrew.
brewing beer.
it wasn't long before Mark Calvert over at Sky called me up and he says, there's a documentary we want to run. The guys out of the Herald Sun have been steering the whole Lawyer X story.
Yep.
You want to go and do a documentary on it? And I was like, man, that sounds great. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. So we put that together. That airs next month, and that's a great story.
Yeah.
So you're narrating?
No, we did it.
Oh,
yeah.
right.
So we I did it with Richard Andrews, a producer, and with the heavy involvement of the two reporters, Anthony Dowsley and Pat Carline. And we spoke to victims and spoke to police and spoke to lawyers and a lot of people who were involved in that story. And if you're not aware of Nicola Gobbo, she's the big time lawyer in Melbourne who was representing the crooks and tipping off the cops at the same time. It's a cracker.
Do you reckon that there's a possibility these guys are going to get out?
Yeah, there's a very good chance.
Jesus.
Tony Mockbell, for one.
Yeah.
He's
He can go back to Greece.
he could do. He could do whatever he wants. But
He
I
needs
mean,
a better wig.
but because if he's gone to jail on corrupted evidence,
Yeah.
you can't keep him there.
And there's a lot. There's a lot. Like, for how many? 20?
Yeah, well, no. She says that her information that she provided to the police helps in the convictions of about 380 people.
Fuck.
I mean, that's varying.
That's the entire gangland wars.
That's varying degrees of help there.
Yeah.
But you're talking about. I spoke to Zara Gard Wilson, who was one of the well-known gangland lawyers, and she said realistically, you're probably looking at about 20 people who've got a good chance of getting out of prison. But the Victorian legal system, they're probably not going to want to make that so easy. So we're talking about years of litigation this could take. So, but there is a very good chance that your people like Tony Mockbell could walk, and he was sentenced to 30 years in prison.
Yeah.
And it feels like it was a knee jerk to how embarrassing this is for metropolitan Melbourne that people keep getting shot at Auskick.
Yeah.
And so they've just said, let's lock them up. Let's lock them all up.
Well, and then you wonder what might have happened if Carl Williams was still alive as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the Pingers would have been better. Anyway.
Has Sky News always done this
New.
type of thing? Because there's another one that's coming out. Old
tonight.
Blood, New Blood?
Bad Blood, New Blood.
Yeah.
So David Spears has done that one.
Yeah.
So there's been some more resources that have been put into the news division, which is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's the capability to be able to do this sort of thing now.
Yeah.
So David Spears has got the story on basically the spill.
Yeah, right.
And now the ABC's got David.
That's right.
Was that his parting gift?
Well,
can keep him nice
he'll
and
continue.
quiet there, can't they?
He'll continue until the end of the year. But but I mean, this will be good.
Yeah.
And so you've got the Lawyer X thing rolling out next month, and who knows, there might be other opportunities as well, which would be great.
Yeah.
And so getting back to your question before, I look forward to doing all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you've had enough time off.
Yeah. And so,
are you a sleep inner? Like after doing breakfast, that's the worst thing when you do early mornings. It will take a year to get back to like being able to lie in.
I liked to get up early and go to the gym and get that out of the way.
Yeah,
because otherwise it's hanging over your head.
Yeah.
And so get that out of the way, and then you start your day and you're feeling fantastic.
Yeah.
Even though you've got nothing to do.
Yeah, well, you're getting up at 2 in the morning now. Got nothing to do. Feels great. I might just watch Cool Runnings again.
It's funny, yeah.
It's 6:30 and I've got fuck all.
Yeah. Sylvia would come over and ask me what I did in the day, and I'd be like, well, it's hard to say. I moved from the couch to the kitchen, back to the couch again. That was fun.
But
that was
I'm
the
fit.
Highlight.
I'm fit.
Yeah, I went to the gym early, so I've got that out of the way, so I don't have to feel guilty lying on the couch and eating Doritos and watching sport.
There's a question here our producer has thrown in, which you can or cannot answer if you don't want to. That Uber driver, how many stars did you rate him?
One. Only because you can't give a 0. Did you know that?
You can't give a 0.
You can't give a 0. Yeah.
You can remove the tip option too if you're really
if you're really unhappy.
No, there's a tip programmed in that you don't know about, and you can remove that if you're a sicko.
Really? Well, I'm a sicko.
Sounds like Peter would have done it.
Do they know if you don't tip?
I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah.
But
maybe that's why my rating's going down.
Are you a door slammer? They hate that. When you get
especially
out.
when
he slams a door. Like
after a few jars.
Even in my foul, he hops out and it's like a gunshot that goes off in the passenger seat.
I'm just busy. I'm excited. I'm on the move.
You know what's worse though is when you get the belt buckle caught in between the car and the door.
Yeah.
Slam it, and that's a minus point there.
All scrapes of pain if you do it the wrong way. Yeah, so no. It's 0 star, 1 star, but
star.
should have been a 0.
Yeah, it should have been a 0.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
What a dog.
He did what he had to do, and for whatever reason, and That's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Whatever he did, he did.
You just got to have a holiday, and now you're back in a breakfast show. So,
that's all right.
Well, thank you for joining us this week.
Is that it? Is there no more? Oh, man, I could do this for hours.
Yeah, we should have had a few jars. We thought you were already in the job, but...
no, not yet. Got another week off. I'll have to try Batuta Bitter another time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll tee that up, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Peter. All the best in the new role.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for having me, and it's good to be here. And good luck for you guys too.
Thanks
Thanks for coming out.
No worries.